Throughout this week, I've been hearing that people want to hear from people of color. They want to be quiet and listen to the voices. But what I've been hearing are a lot of the same voice. I really am a person who believes more in the individual than I do in the color of our skin. And that doesn't mean that I've not experienced racism. I've experienced both overt racism and the systematic racism that people have talked about. I've been walking down the street with a boyfriend and heard over somebody's shoulder, nigger lover. And I hate that word. And I know that right now people are saying, well, it's okay that we've reclaimed this word and made it something powerful to us. But I don't think that something can be powerful that was so low that it told a person, a human being, that they had less value than cattle. That's what that word means. And that somebody would embrace that is not something that I can get behind. And there's lots of ideas on race that I cannot get behind. It's interesting to me that to have a different perspective is to be ostracized by so many people, including in our own community, meaning those of the same color. People who don't tend to follow that narrative are often called some pretty horrible names, some pretty horrible slurs, by people who have had shared experiences. I haven't had ever shared experience. And I saw something earlier this week that said pause and listen. And even as a person of color, I had to sit back and listen because I do not have that experience of being an African American male, an innocent African American male, and being questioned by the police. And not only questioned, but having to stand outside and have your hands handcuffed while you're questioned. I can't imagine what that would be like. And I think that it needs to change. And I do think that seems to be a racist policy unless that happens for everyone, but I've never heard of that happening for anyone else. But just because I think all of those things are horrible and they need to change does not mean that I think that every single police officer is bad. And I have seen things coming through that have said, if you think that not all cops are bad, then you are a part of the problem. I think that's a dangerous thought to have. I think that it's a dangerous thought to have because progress comes from different thoughts. Progress comes from talking to each other and hearing different opinions. And right now, where we are in culture, it is not like that. It is a shut up, your thoughts trigger me, I don't like what you're saying, I'm right, you're wrong kind of dynamic. And to me, we only have to look back in history to see where that dynamic has taken people. We need to look back into World War II. And it's crazy to me that there's so much talk about conservatives being Nazis or whatever else, when this idea that some people should not be able to talk, some voices are not valid, is so prevalent. So I've been listening to all sorts of people, and I've tried to gather the people in the middle and the people that I think have some reason, and to kind of merge my perspective with them and say, well, where does my stuff come from? My stuff comes from the fact that I'm biracial, not fully black. It comes from the fact that I lived in 17 different Caucasian foster homes and one African American foster home, and what those experiences were like in those. And in those homes, I experienced racism on both sides. And I know that people say that African Americans can't be racist, but I have seen with my own eyes so much hatred and vitriol towards white people from black people that I don't know what else you would call it. And in my experience, personally, I've seen more of that than I have seen from Caucasian people. That does not mean that things aren't said and things aren't done. I remember once liking a boy and somebody telling him I liked him, and he said, yeah, well, she's cute and everything, but I like my bread white, not toasted. Was that racist? Was that just a kid talking? I don't know. I think that we're quick to point and say that everything is, oh, that's racist, that's racist, that's racist. And I think that there are some things that we don't think of that are racist that are, like the gentleman being arrested. What I do know, though, is that whenever somebody has told me that I must act this way, I must be this way, I'm all of these things just because of the color of my skin, it has made me kind of rebel. I won't say, because it's ridiculous to say that I don't see color, because I absolutely do. Everyone absolutely does, unless they're blind. But I believe it shouldn't matter. My kid loves Star Trek, and I was like, oh no, I can't get into this. I'm not going to be that kind of a nerd. In the most recent episode, Captain Kirk said to this little person that where I come from, race and color and shape and size have no effect. And I think it would be amazing if that's the way that our world was today. And it's not. We are so divided today. And even where we weren't divided, we suddenly are. It's suddenly us against them in every single situation. And I think that that is so scary, because when one person has to be right and beat down the other person, and I mean, it's almost like playing that old game Mercy. You can't breathe. You literally cannot move. And then what happens? Then the pendulum shifts. And it goes all the way to this side, and those people cannot breathe and cannot move. And so they fight, and it shifts. And I just want to see us get to the middle.